Already, as we watch the seconds go by, waiting for 6:30. Welcome, folks. I'm going to call us back to order at 6:30. The town of Smithers acknowledges the Gidim Den clan and the Wet'suwet'en people on whose unceded traditional territory we live, work, and play. And the public is notified that the meeting is being recorded and webcast, a notice of which is on the bulletin board outside these chambers. And council, we have an agenda, no supplemental for approval, please. Councillor Buikema, Councillor Leonard. Any additions? All in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Right, and now I'm paying attention, Ms. Goodrick, so I'll be paying attention to make sure that the motions are working well. Sorry about that. Okay. Okay, so first up, we don't have any petitions or delegations. The next item is the public comment period, and this is different than if you're coming to speak to an item in the public opportunity for specific items. So if anyone just had a comment relating to an item other than the items that show up on the public hearing, this is your moment. Okay, and I'm not seeing anyone, so I'm going to move on. And then we get to the next public speaking opportunity. So I'm at this section 7 of the agenda, and the first public speaking opportunity is 7.1. So I'm just going to take a moment to read a statement. And for the record, we're beginning this at 6:31. This public opportunity to speak is convened in accordance with the community charter to allow the public to make representations to council regarding bylaw number 1994, road closure and highway dedication removal, close lanes within block 51 and block 61, and part of the road dedicated on plan 1054, district lots 1053 and 5289, range 5 coast district. In October of 2025, the town initiated the subject bylaw proposing to permanently close and dispose of the existing Broadway Avenue road right-of-way and lane right-of-ways located between the unopened Alberta Street road right-of-way, unopened Vancouver Street road right-of-way, unopened First Avenue road right-of-way, and Alfred Avenue road right-of-way. Once the bylaw is adopted, the land will be consolidated with the abutting town-owned lands and disposed of to the Northern Health Authority as part of the proposed 216-bed long-term care project in Smithers. Those present who believe your interest in the property is affected by the proposed bylaw are provided this opportunity to be heard. Comments are welcome, and when speaking, please start by stating your name. Council's discussion regarding this bylaw will occur under section 14 of council's agenda. If there's anyone who wants to speak to that bylaw 1994. Okay, I'm not seeing anyone, so I'm going to move on. So this discussion period is going to close at 6:33. And for the record, there was one letter received. Okay. I need to go through it again for the next one. So this is a public opportunity to speak beginning at 6:33. And it is convened in accordance with the community charter to allow the public to make representations to council regarding the development various permit application DV 25-07 for 3908 First Avenue. The town of Smithers has received a development variance permit application for 3908 First Avenue. The applicant is proposing to operate a home-based community pottery studio from the subject property. Due to space constraints and potential adverse visual impacts on the heritage property, the applicant's request is to vary section 2.10.2 bracket A, table 2.10.2, Town of Smithers zoning bylaw number 1987, as necessary to waive the off-street parking requirement for the proposed home occupation use. Those present who believe that your interest in the property is affected by the proposed variance permit are provided with this opportunity to be heard. Comments are welcome now. When speaking, please start by giving your name. I think this is the one. Yep. Come on up. You know, it's a long introduction.
Let's have a little. Hi.
Hi.
My name is Hillary Graham. I'm the individual that submitted the DVP application form for the, to waive the third off-street parking space. So I grew up in Smithers. I'm now a mother of 2 children. I'm raising my family in Smithers, and I have a vested interest in the vitality of this community, and I would I want to contribute in some capacity and form, and I think this pottery space could be just a unique way of offering something culturally and within our artistic realm of our community. So that's the intention. Yeah, I think it'd be a cool way of offering this medium and making it accessible to adults and youth in our community. Anyway, so the space, it's attached to our home, autonomous entry and exit points. It's a very small space. It's only slightly over 300 square feet, so it really can't accommodate for much. This won't be, it can't be a space that many people can utilize at a time, given the size constraints. So given that, I don't foresee that parking should be an issue, and I don't see how traffic, incoming or outgoing traffic will be problematic either. Another thing is that we are situated on a corner lot. So on First and Queen Street, there is quite a bit of accessible parking that presently exists on the street. As well, how our driveway is orientated, it's right in front of the studio entrance point, which is on Queen Street. We're on First Avenue, and rarely do we actually utilize the parking space because it is much easier to enter our home through the First Ave entranceway. So there is 2 off-street parking spaces available that are, rarely in use. Also, we live very close to the downtown core, so walking and biking is very accessible. And I'm hoping those that want to utilize this space will consider that as a means of transport, providing that makes sense for their commute. To make any adjustments to our present driveway would actually first it would extend beyond what I think is the 7-meter width limit of the driveway. So it actually would require another DVP application to make a third spot. But it would, I think, most concerning for us would be that it would destroy the very mature hedges that encase really our whole property and our driveway. We own one of the original Sears catalog homes. And so not just the historic value, I think, that is held in the house, but I think given just the decades of growth and care it's taken to create this really beautiful large shrubbery and mature trees, to remove those or to damage those, I think would be, I don't think that would be advantageous to the property, to like the value of our space, to really the streetscape in general. So yeah, I guess really, those given the really modest scale of the studio, and these reasons, I hope that I hope council will waive the third parking space requirement.
Thank you, Ms. Graham. And as I noted, was shared with you ahead of time, it will be discussed. It's coming up in the staff reports in section 14, and you are welcome to stay with us, or you're welcome to take your evening back and view it online. The gallery is open, though. You're welcome to stay if you wish, and council will discuss it when it comes up on the agenda. Thank you for joining us. Okay, as I see the size of the gallery, I will ask if there's anyone else who wanted to speak to this. And otherwise I will move on and noting that I'm going to close off discussion on this item and it is it's hard to see actually, 6:40. Okay, we have one more. Starting at 6:40. This public opportunity to speak is convened in accordance with the community charter to allow the public to make representations to council regarding the development variance permit application DV 25-08 for 1207 Main Street. The town of Smithers has received a DVP application for 1207 Main Street as part of relocating its business from Third Avenue to its new location at 1207 Main. Heartstrings Home Decor and Gifts, the applicant is proposing to relocate their existing signs with slight modifications. As the proposed sign relocation will create nonconformities in terms of sign lettering and fascia sign area regulations, the applicant's request is to vary sections 7.12 lettering and 8.4A fascia sign area calculation of the town of Smithers sign bylaw number 1841 as necessary to allow the business to reuse the existing signs. Those present who believe that your interest in the property is affected by the proposed variance permit are provided this opportunity to be heard. Comments are now welcome. Okay. And I'm not seeing anyone wanting to take advantage, so closing this at 6:41. Just saying that was a lot of reading. Okay. Thanks for your patience as I read them. So council, we are into section 8. We have 8.1, the regular council meeting agenda, December 9th. The minutes for approval, please. Councillor Elliott, Councillor Raven, any errors or omissions? All in favor? Any opposed? And that's carried. That's good. We're good. Okay. And then we are up to council reports, and first up, Councillor Bukema.
Thank you, Mayor Attrell. First of all, the Visitor Center report is there primarily just for information's sake. Unless someone has questions. Then secondly, Councillor Elliott and I had a regional pool meeting yesterday afternoon. It was just a standard business meeting. I'm not sure there's a lot to report on. I also met twice with Mr. Welsh leading up to the budget season. And I felt both of those meetings were very productive in just getting ready for all the upcoming meetings. And then lastly, during the Christmas holidays, I briefly visited the temporary winter shelter. I just wanted to see it in operation with my own eyes, and it's a good just to take that in. Thank you. That's it for me.
Thanks, Councillor Bukema. Any questions from anyone else? Okay, then next up, Councillor Elliott.
Thank you, Mayor. See the library report attached, nothing new to add to it. Just that I think I talked about the consultation with the architects for the new library was very good. And yeah, that's about it. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Elliott. Councillor Leonard.
The December 2nd meetings from the Minerals North Committee meeting are attached there. If anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer. And we did just have a meeting today, and I wanted to convey things are on track. And we have a total of 350 registrants that we can go to a maximum of. And to date, we have 210 people registered, and registration just opened on the 5th. So we've had a great response right out of the gate, and don't think we'll have any trouble getting the full participation, which is awesome for our little town of Smithers.
Thanks, Councillor Leonard. And we have regrets this evening from Councillor Patterson. I'm sorry I forgot that earlier. And so next up will be Councillor Raven.
So first I wanted to just bring up, so there was an accessibility advisory committee meeting, and there was one motion that they wanted to bring forward for council's consideration. So that would be that they recommend that council include a dedicated budget line item for the new library improvement plan for universal access consultation, ensuring accessibility considerations are addressed through professional engagement rather than volunteer input. But I did have a question for staff, just to maybe clarify something is, because we have hired the architect, so a question through the staff is if accessibility is being considered through the process already.
Mr. Allen?
Yeah, thanks you, Mayor Atchell. Yes, the architect for the library at the Heartstrings building is absolutely required to address all accessibility requirements under the building code. So I believe everything that the committee has identified in their motion it will be addressed with the architect.
Thanks, Mr. Allen. Councillor Raven?
Yeah, perfect. I just wanted to highlight that. So then moving on, there was an APC meeting, but that's getting addressed in the staff reports. But then I have my council report. So various events. It's kind of crazy to think back that this all happened. Our last council meeting was before Christmas, so it was kind of a step back through time. But a couple things that I did want to highlight was just the Christmas truck parade was such a good event. It was so large. The amount of people that were out was just incredible. So that was definitely a highlight of my holiday season. And then just also kudos to our fire hall. They hosted a volunteer firefighter info session. I attended because they do have a junior, I almost said junior ranger. That's wrong. My son's in junior rangers. But they do have a junior firefighter program, and that is one that my son was interested in, which is why I went. So just gaining more information about that program was really enlightening, and I already had a deep appreciation for our volunteers, and now it's even deeper. But if anyone is interested, they can reach out to the fire hall. But it was a really good session.
Thanks, Councillor Raven. Councillor Ray?
I actually have a question about Councillor Raven's. So for the motion from the committee, is universal access not different from just legal accessibility?
That would be a great question for Mr. Lawrence.
Mr. Lawrence?
I will help Mr. Allen save his voice for tonight. So the BC Building Code regulates standards for, and the library would be a Part 3 building under the code. Those are accessibility standards under the BC Building Code are minimum requirements. So universal accessibility standards are above code. So it would depend on if that was included in the scope. And it sounds like from what Mr. Allen said, if the architect has been engaged and are in discussion with those, that would be above code requirement.
Okay, I'm not sure that actually clarified it for me. Do we know what, or is it at the point now where we know what the scope would be when we're looking at the library, if it's at code or above code? Or are we going to be informed later? Sorry, Mr. Allen or Mr. Lawrence.
So that would have to be included in the scope when engaging with the architect.
So, and I'll look to the others to add or correct me if I'm misspoken in anything, but essentially we're just getting information in terms of what we are going to be looking at in terms of the library development. So this is engagement or community information that has been taken in and will be considered as we move forward with the actual design of the project. That will certainly be going back to council before we progress from that point, but it's certainly information that has been heard through the engagement process.
Thank you. Councillor Ray, that good?
Yeah, just knowing that we're going to be strapped for costs, and well, it would be a very nice to have to completely universal access. That might not be affordable. So.
Okay. Councillor Ray, was there anything else from you?
No, actually nothing else to report. Thanks.
Thanks, Councillor Ray. My report is there, as is so I should back up here. The list, the standing list on strategic priorities. And then the minutes from December, I've lost the date, 16th. Actually, those are for adoption. So if I could have a motion to adopt, please. Counselor Raven, Counselor Leonard. Any questions on any of those? Counselor Ray?
Just if I recall, were there two things that were coming from in camera into the regular tonight? Was that what was on? I may have misread the report, and just for everybody
I'll
watching at
just-
home, I wasn't here for the
I'll just-
closed.
Let you know that there will be something coming, but not tonight. Okay. Alrighty. Anything else, Counselor Ray? Okay. Then all in favor of adoption? Any opposed? And that's carried. Thank you. Ms. Goodrick, are we doing okay? I am forgetting that I said I'd be slower, or perhaps I am slow and I'm not noticing. Okay. And then my report is there for information. If there's any questions, happy to take them, and otherwise we'll just move on. Okay. So then, if we can, somehow I've missed the 14s now. Okay, to the staff reports. First up, a report from Mr. Muscat, who's here with us on the airport ground side plow spreader truck purchase. I love these titles, just gotta say. With a recommendation, if we can put that on the floor, Councillor Buchanan.
I'll move the staff recommendation.
Okay, and a seconder, Councillor Elliott. Any discussion or anything you want to add? Okay. Councillor Ray? Sorry, it was Councillor Buchanan and Councillor Elliott. Councillor Ray?
Yeah, just a couple of questions, just, I guess the first question would be, does staff have something in mind already? That's probably the first question.
Mr. Muscat?
Yep, through the chair. Yes, we have been looking at used trucks. Unfortunately, one just got sold that we were interested in, but we've got some good criteria, so we'll continue looking for vehicles.
Councillor Ray?
And then will you be, are you looking for one already with a snowplow attachment and spreader, or are you purchasing that separately?
Mr. Muscat?
Yes, ideally, we'll be able to purchase everything together. However, if a good vehicle comes up without those attachments and is still within budget, we may elect to purchase the accessories separately, but the preference would be to purchase everything together.
Thank you.
That's good. Okay, anyone else? All right, motions on the floor, all in favor? Any opposed? And that's carried. Okay, thank you. 14.2, report from Ms. LeBlanc on the NDIT grant writing support program with a recommendation. Councillor Raven, a seconder, Councillor Elliott. Any discussion? And that was Raven and Elliott. Any discussion on this? Seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? And that's carried unanimously. 14.3, this is the DVP for 3908 First Avenue. That was discussed earlier with the staff recommendation. Councillor Ray, you're moving?
Moved, yeah.
Okay, moved. Is there a seconder? Councillor Buchanan. Discussion? Councillor Ray.
Well, when I first started reading the report, I was actually prepared to deny. However, seeing that the driveway backs out onto Queen Street at a place where there's a crosswalk already and that intersection is already quite busy, it'd actually probably be better if people were parking on the street on First Avenue. So I just wanted to say that I'm not really too sure that it should matter whether a house has a good hedge or is a heritage house before we start just allowing that argument to sway us from having parking requirements on the property. Like I said, I think it already makes sense, but you know, that's kind of some of the calculus you have to do if you want to make a open home-based business. So I just wanted to kind of put that out there in case it seems like more and more people are looking to do home-based businesses, and we can't let everybody park on the street, because in this case, it makes sense. It's a small area, but we're gonna probably see ones for things with maybe more clientele and stuff. So.
Thanks, Councillor Ray. Anyone else? I would have to say the one thing that I hadn't noticed if it was in the written material, but I heard in the comments earlier was just the size of the studio, even though I have been in that studio and its previous life as an art studio, is the 300 square feet actually was a sort of a useful bit of information, just recognizing how small that is. Just a question through to staff, though. If the DVP is given and at some point in the future, an intention is made to expand the studio to increase its square footage, what happens then? So if the parking variance is approved for 300 square feet, but at some time maybe it's 1,000 square feet, would that come back to us? Mr. Allen?
Thank you, Mayor Atchell. Yes, it would come back to council and this kind of thing will be addressed on an annual basis at business license renewal. Even home-based businesses require an annual renewal, and staff do a site inspection to confirm existing conditions or if there's new conditions. If new conditions warrant additional parking, like off-street parking, then that would be addressed at that point.
Thank you.
Okay.
Councillor Bucama.
Yeah, I'm comfortable supporting the staff recommendation. Feel like we are given the impression there's enough available street parking that it's not really a need for a third parking spot. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? All right, motion is on the floor. All in favor? Any opposed? And that is carried unanimously. 14.4, report from Ms. Chandran on the DVP for 1207 Main Street, Heartstrings with staff recommendation, couple of parts. Councillor Ray, moving the entire thing. Okay, is there a seconder? Councillor Raven? Any discussion? Okay, I'm gonna bite. I can't help it with signs. And, you know, I think I got the gist here. I guess the question, and it's really not for staff, it's for us, is there are some businesses that have paid for very expensive signs on Main Street where where they have to do the raised lettering, all those things that are in the sign bylaw. So it tweaks at me. I looked at the sign hanging on the building today. It's a sign I'm familiar with. I mean, it looks fine. If this was any other business, they would have to adhere to the sign bylaw. So I'm a little bit stuck on it. So Councillor Ray and then Councillor Raven.
Well, I think it maybe points out that there are some, and God knows I don't ever want to see that sign bylaw again after last time. But it does point out that, you know, maybe you can still have a nice sign that's not in compliance. And in this case, because it's moving from another place, I would think that if any business in town that had been compliant at the time and isn't changing the sign at all, if they were moving within town, I would grant them the same variance.
Thanks, Councillor Ray. Councillor Raven.
Along that same thread is because it was literally just off Main Street is an existing sign. And I think just to throw away a sign that's in good condition is also not necessarily the best thing either. And it was my understanding, because this was brought up at the APC meeting, is that if the sign deteriorates or they replace it, then they have to be in compliance with the sign bylaw. So to me, it's kind of like if it's not broke, don't fix it. But once it does get weathered and has to get replaced, then it will have to comply.
Thanks, Councillor Raven. Just a question then sorry, Mr. Allen, I was going to try not to, I mean, I teased you that I was going to ask you a lot of questions with your voice struggles, but it is that piece on deterioration. We have had other signs come before us over the years, and this is always a struggle. I'm aware of it. How is that gauged? So, I mean, I did look at the signs today, but you know, how is that gauged that a sign is not in good shape and thus requires compliance?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Actually, we have asked owners to replace signs that are basically, you know, in such disrepair that they're either a danger to the public, because all signage on Main Street and the downtown core, well, on either side of Main Street primarily are adjacent to the sidewalks, so it can become a public safety concern. So that's an immediate reason for requesting replacement. And if it's, yeah, just not meeting the, any updated requirements or, lettering standards or lighting standards, that's another reason for, staff requiring the owners to make upgrades. But it is always triggered by a permit. It either has to be a development permit or a building permit, unless it's a immediate hazard to the public.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, any other, Councillor Ray?
Just to alert the chair, I would like to ask a question, a general question between this and the next things. I didn't want it to take away from anything, but I do want to ask a question in between.
Your meeting before we go to 14.5. Okay, no problem. Okay, any other comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? And that is carried unanimously. Okay, Councillor Ray.
Yeah, so this is just through the staff. So in the last two permits, the name and address of the applicants and owners of the variance permits are blacked out. And I was wondering if staff could tell me if that's something that's legislatively required.
We're
We'd have to
pausing.
follow up.
Okay. Councillor Leonard.
I was actually had that same thought when I was reading through the package, because in other supporting documentation, the names were in there. So if it's redacted because for privacy, I mean, the whole package wasn't, so it should be one or the other.
Yeah, and the reason I brought it up is if they are to be redacted for a legal reason, it exposes council to some risk, because we could be in conflict without even knowing it if the owners aren't identified. And it also doesn't really look good that council's blocking things out. The public doesn't like that.
Thanks, Councillor Ray. Mr. Dewar.
Yes, staff will follow up and we'll ensure that we have consistency as we move forward.
Thank you. Ms. Smith.
It's definitely not in violation, but in an effort to increase, tighten up our privacy, we are taking off addresses for things like the public comment period. For things like applications, it's not required that we redact them, and we can be more consistent moving forward, but.
Thanks, Ms. Smith. Councillor Ray.
Yeah, so I do understand, and I've always wondered why people had to identify themselves by their address when they address us. And I would just think that really the thing that we need to see is the name of the owner of the property and the name of the applicant. We don't need the rest of it. It just helps us. It would help us and the public to identify who the players are.
Thanks, Councillor Ray. Okay. We're going to move on to 14.5, and this is from Ms. Chandran on the dollars to door program application for 1053 Parkside with recommendation. Councillor Elliott, Councillor Raven, any discussion on this one? This is, I think, our second application through this program, so it's kind of nice, $10,000 per door. It's a nice program. Not seeing any other comments, all in favor? Any opposed? And that is carried unanimously. That takes us through the 14s. Next up, we have the report from Mr. Dewar on the Regional Airport Financial Sustainability Study. This is for information. Mr. Dewar, did you want to make any comments to start?
Yeah, just a couple quick comments. Certainly it was a report that had numerous contributions from a whole variety of staff members. Also, it's one that we just wanted to bring to the forefront as we move into budget season. Certainly, it shouldn't be a surprise to anyone on council that we do have some financial challenges we're facing in terms of the financial sustainability of the airport. And it's one that we wanted to just kind of highlight some of the efforts that have been made thus far, as well as the multi-pronged approach to moving forward to make sure that we can find solutions for that financial sustainability for the airport.
Thanks, Mr. Dewar. Council. Councillor Ray, Councillor Leonard.
Just wondering if this would be on, I think we have an airport cow. Would this be on that agenda as well?
Mr. Dewar.
This particular report will not be on the agenda, but some of the results from some of the research that we've collected over the last several months will be the focus of that meeting.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate seeing this ahead of that meeting. Thank you.
Thanks, Counselor Ray. Counselor Leonard?
Yeah, I just wanted to say I do appreciate the submission and the information. And I was interested to see that there had originally been this document or agreement in place back in 1998. And I would encourage you to maybe run that down and develop something new. I think that's a great way to move discussions with the area and other regional municipalities and the regional district around to hopefully develop a funding partnership for the airport.
Thanks, Counselor Leonard. Counselor Raven, and then Counselor Buikema.
So yeah, I found this report absolutely fascinating, and I know there's particularly number, well, C, and then it's number 3 under resource considerations, but the lowering of the flight approach, I know I've been asked that quite a bit, so it's good to see that that's kind of on the radar and something that's potentially being able to looked into. But I definitely found the fact that there used to be a lot more help with the funding prior was fascinating as well. So I'm just looking forward to seeing us progress.
Thanks, Counselor Raven. Counselor Buikema.
Thanks, Mayor Attrell. Yeah, I realize this report is just there for information, but I found it to be a really interesting read and very helpful information going into the committee of the whole meeting we're going to have on Monday night. So thanks to staff.
Thanks, Counselor Buikema. Anyone else? Good. And I did neglect to ask whether Mr. Muscat had anything else you wanted to say. I'm sorry about that. If you have something.
No, thank you, Mayor Attrell. Just, I know this council already understands the significance and the importance of the airport, so nothing further to add.
Thanks for that. Counselor Wright, go ahead.
Sorry, just two things, just that we, in my time of council, we have lowered the approach limit, but it just seems like every time we lower it, it needs to be lower again. I don't know if that's changing regulations. The other thing I noticed that I had no inkling of or why it was or why it's no longer a thing, but the original agreement with the RDBN was for an airport society. And I don't know the history behind how it got from a society to the town. But I did notice that, and I thought it was interesting.
Thanks, Counselor Ray. But maybe, well, I guess any of us could do this. It's probably good to have this report as well, sort of in our back pockets for the cow next week. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a note to staff, but to each of us to have this information. It is interesting to see the challenges across the country. Some council will remember I had a couple of opportunities to speak at the, I'll get the committee wrong, but the National Transportation Committee on small and regional airports and challenges. And so seeing some of this reflecting airports in Eastern Canada and Northern Canada is interesting, the breadth of the research and the challenges across the country, seeing what's happened with air capacity, the size of the airplanes. And we definitely feel that, in addition to the challenge we have with the air carrier that serves our airport. But, we have memory of things being different, and it doesn't apply at all. But as we think back about the acquisition of the airport, and I see former Councillor Banstra in the gallery too, once upon a time, for those of us that are thinking about opportunities that we used to have, we actually did have a customs office at the airport back in the days of 737's landing. And last month I was at the Guide Outfitter meeting, and some of them do recall when they were able to amalgamate change days, because on a Saturday, a flight came straight from Seattle to Smithers, and the guides were able to en masse have a big change day, and people were able to fly directly into Smithers from Seattle. So there have been changes over time, and some of those days aren't going to come back again post 9/11 and all the changes there. But there have been different extraordinary efforts made at YWD over the years to figure out how can we sustain the airport. At that same time, with the customs office, we had direct flights in the winter from Ketchikan supporting the ski industry. So I think, thinking big, thinking broad, and what partnerships are available to us, how do we ensure that sustainability? I think people need the sustainability of the airport. And even folks who don't need the airport because they choose to drive everywhere, that's fine. There's nothing quite like a medevac when you need it. And I think we need to kind of hold that in our souls when we're thinking about the future of this airport and how it connects to the future of the community. And I think there was strength in that report talking about community resiliency, cultural resiliency in airports across the country, other than the major airports, the YVRs, YYZs. Regional airports are integral to community health. And so it was good to read the report. I appreciated that kind of, like real hearing things that we've been saying for a long time. And our opportunity and challenge now is how do we move this forward to make sure that our airport is strong going forward. So thanks for the work, for sharing it with us. And we'll look forward to the next part. Okay, any last comments on that? Okay, that was for information, so no motions. Dum, dum, dum. And so 15.2, we have the staff vacancy report from Ms. Westberg for information. And if there's any questions or comments. Okay, and then 15.3 from Ms. Behrman on the business walk. Any questions or comments on that one? Councilor Buchanan?
Thanks, Mayor Attrell. Yeah, I would have really enjoyed participating in the business walk, but couldn't get away from work. So I found the report really helpful. And I think it especially helped me appreciate a lot of the challenges facing local business. So thanks to the councillors who did, and the mayor as well, who did participate. But anyway, just a really helpful report for those of us who are not able to be a part of the business walk. Thank you.
Thanks, Councilor Buchanan. I wasn't there either, so I won't take that credit.
Oh.
Other councillors were there, in addition to other volunteers from around town and staff. A couple of things that I wanted to note, considering when it was done, so it was last fall, and some of the things that we see as the concerns, no surprises with staffing, rising costs, community safety. And, I'm on page 5 of the report. Top local supports businesses were interested in increased community safety and patrols by local campaigns, affordable housing. And, what we have in our circle of influence, we have taken up trying to address the community safety issues as best we can. We're not the folks that do buy local campaigns, but we know through our economic development office, the introduction of the River Roots plan. And then we do whatever we can on the housing front. So it's it feels like we're in a bit of a feedback loop that is very helpful, that we've been hearing things from the business community, and what we can do, we are trying to do. So Ms. Behrman isn't here, but the report is helpful. And it feels like some of the things that we've taken on are going down the right path. Always more to do, but it is very positive. Any other comments on that? Councillor Leonard?
Yeah, I appreciate the report as well. And I do just want to piggyback on your comments, Mayor Attrell. And, it was noted in the survey that it was mentioned by businesses, wasn't a question in the survey, but that high taxes was a concern, and also the public safety component. So just as we're heading into or in budget, just keep that in mind, because businesses do pay a large share of property taxes in our community, and we need to give them results for that.
Thanks, Councillor Leonard. Councillor Raven?
And one thing that I did appreciate was on page 5 is when it was talking about local supports, the fact that there was the daycare option. And I know some of the times when I've talked about daycare is I think a lot of people think about it helping certain sectors, but the amount of even just our downtown businesses where daycares, it's the bottom one. Yeah, but yeah, so but just how that is impacting quite a bit. It was what a lot of the people that I talked to actually specifically brought up, is just having to reduce store hours just to align with childcare availability. So it was just a good reminder.
Thanks, Councillor Raven. Okay. Don't see any other hands. The 15s, we have the municipal markers. Any questions or comments from that? I am going to have to connect with Ms. LeBlanc. It's still this, she's not here every time I notice May and the social connections. What happened in May? I'll ask her. Other than that, I don't think I had any particular notes. Not seeing any. Okay, we're up to bylaws. 16.1, bylaw 1994. And this is relating to the road closure that we talked about earlier, related to the long-term care proposal for adoption, please. Counselor Raven, Counselor Elliott. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Okay, 16.2, bylaw 2000, and this is the official community plan bylaw amendment, also relating to the long-term care for adoption. Counselor Bucama? Counselor Elliott? Any discussion? All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, 16.3, bylaw 2001. This is the zoning bylaw amendment, also related to the long-term care project for adoption. Counselor Elliott, Counselor Raven, Counselor Ray.
I just wanted to make a comment that at third reading, I was reluctant to support. Because I felt this was maybe our last chance at making sure that the things that were promised in the long-term care were followed through on. But there are other opportunities, so I'll support at this time. And
Thank you.
thanks to staff for bringing me up to speed on that as well.
Thank you, Counselor Ray. Any other comments? All in favor? Any opposed? And that is carried unanimously. Okay, we are at 16.4. This is bylaw 2002. This is regarding the terms of reference for the APC Advisory Planning Commission. And this is for adoption. Counselor Raven, Counselor Elliott. And just for clarity, this I can't think of the right word, removes the RCMP as a voting member and keeps them as an advisory. All in favor? Any opposed? And that is carried unanimously. Okay. 16.5 from Mr. Welsh, bylaw 2003, the fees and charges, bylaw number 2004, fees subsidies, with a whole bunch of recommendations. What's your pleasure? Want to do them one at a time or all together? Someone make a motion. Counselor Ray.
I'll move first reading of bylaw number 2003.
Okay, I'm just gonna get to the bylaw pages. Give me a moment. And actually, is there a seconder? Counselor Raven, thank you. We'll get that first. Okay. And no discussion, all in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Second reading, please. Counselor Raven. Counselor Bucama. Okay, and discussion? I'm not seeing any. All in favor? Any opposed? And that's carried. And third reading, Counselor Ray, Counselor Elliott, any discussion? Not seeing any. All in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. Okay, and now bylaw 2004 for first reading, please. Counselor Bucama, Counselor Ray. No discussion. All in favor? Any opposed? And that's carried. Second reading. Counselor Elliott, Counselor Raven, discussion. See, Counselor Leonard.
I just had a question regarding the GIS limits, maybe through to staff, if Mr. Welsh can comment on the 30,000 per person, single, and 41,000 per household.
Mr. Welsh.
Through the chair to Councilor Leonard, yes, the direction of that came from the GIS thresholds from CRA. In transitioning to this newer model, we picked kind of higher thresholds, which is consistent with the Port Coquitlam and what Nanaimo have been administering this process. And I figured this would be a reasonable way of implementing council's allowance for this for seniors in an administrative way and reasonable, transparent, and accountable to administer.
Thanks, Mr. Welsh. Counselor Leonard.
So would, just to be clear, so would the intent to be for those single seniors, eventually, would they be down to that lower threshold over time?
The requirement with the administering this discount bylaw will require a senior applying for the discount to provide their notice of assessment from CRA. and it'll have to be below the threshold acknowledged in this bylaw, understanding there's a lag between the 2006 GIS amounts and the availability of their notice of assessment. Most likely 2004 amount will be, so there'll be a bit of a lag in between getting this information and gathering this.
All good? Okay, anyone else? Okay, this is second reading, all in favor? Any, oh, Counselor Ray, was that a question?
Well, I was gonna give an opinion.
Okay,
I was waiting for everybody else first, but, so with respect to Mr. Welsh, I think he's gone and done something that's good. I do have a little bit of a concern. I know we've been talking about it for a while, but I don't know if the community knows about it very well. Perhaps the best thing would be some kind of public opportunity to comment before we adopted. But it is a large change in 1 year. So there's going to be a whole bunch of people that have been claiming it every year for whatever reason that won't be able to anymore. So that's going to be a large hit in 1 year. When you're not expecting to pay. I can't remember what the combo of mine was. It's a little south of $1,000, but it's, if I hadn't paid it last year and now all of a sudden I have to pay it, it's a little bit of a hit. And I guess the only other thing would be is that I just a little concerned as to whether people are going to get their notice of assessments back in time. I know it's, you know, if you file at the end of April, given how the mail is sometimes, but I think I see Mr. Welsh has a reply to that. You know, my preference would have been to just phase the whole thing out over 3 or 4 years to give a little bit of a hit for each person. I know council doesn't feel the same way. So I think this is a good compromise, but I'm a little worried about the all of a sudden you didn't pay it this year and now you have to pay the whole thing this year.
Mr. Welsh, did you have a comment?
Through the chair to Councillor Ray, yes, about 73 people claim this exemption in 2025. And we have letters written to each person who claimed this to acknowledge the change in the program. And we plan on working with communications to make sure people are aware of this program and how it's administered.
Thank you very much for that. That allays some of my fears for sure.
Thank you, Counselor Ray. Mr. Welsh, Counselor Leonard?
I was just gonna say, and with all due respect, if you're claiming the exemption because of you're on that income supplement legitimately, it should be good. And if you're claiming the exemption illegitimately, then you should pay.
Okay, we're not going to do too much back and forth here. Counselor Ray?
Well, I would, it's been a voluntary program and part of the problem with voluntary programs is I make almost 6 figures between the 2 jobs that I have. And if my taxes went up by almost $1,000 unexpectedly, I could pay it, but I don't know if it would be an easy thing for me. And, you know, thinking of a senior that's just barely above GIS, maybe they've been claiming it and maybe they need to, and the $1,000 or so is going to be a bit of a hardship for them. So.
Okay. Anyone else? Second reading is on the floor. I'm going to call the vote. All in favor? Any opposed? And that carries. Third reading, please. Counselor Buikema, Counselor Ray, any further discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? And that's carried. Okay, and thanks staff for the work getting us these. So we are up to the 17s. We have one item under 17, I think just one, the letter for the library. And I do have a proposed motion. I'm just going to read it and then we'll see if it pleases council. So possible motion is that council allocates $10,000 from the library surplus to the 2025 operation expenses. If you're willing, Councillor Ray, are you moving? And Councillor Buikema is seconding. Okay, and discussion, Councillor Ray.
This is something that we've had to do in the past. really, everybody's compiling their numbers all year, and then when you get to the end, sometimes it doesn't quite match. And the library does have quite a bit of surplus stored, and it's been used for this purpose a couple of times in my memory.
Thank you. And sorry again, Ms. Goodrick, with that, okay? The motion, did you catch it? Yep. I can. We'll check my handwriting, see if I can. That council allocate $10,000 from the library surplus to the 2025 operation expenses. Okay. And that was Ray and Bucama. Okay, any other discussion on it? Seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? And that's carried. Okay, good work, folks. We're at the 18s. See what council wants to pull out, and I'll just note 18-1 is a nice letter from the Friendship Center. So that was nice to receive. Other than that, any of the 18s that folks want to discuss? I'm not seeing anything. Going once, going twice. Okay. Councilor Raven?
Sorry, so were we going to discuss 18-1? Because you,
No, I just I
Oh,
made my comment if you want to discuss it.
oh, sorry, yeah, no,
Yeah.
I just, yeah, I thought that it was a lovely letter to receive, and I was just wondering if you had had the opportunity to respond to that, or if that was on your radar to just respond to them?
I hadn't, and it wasn't, so it could be now.
Okay, I just think that it's just a nice piece where when we receive things like this, is just that recognition. So I would be okay if the mayor would like to do a nice response.
Okay, let's just make it as a motion so we can track it. So Councilor Raven moves. Councilor Leonard, are you seconding? Okay, you'll second and you can ask a question.
I was just curious.
Leonard.
I was just curious if they have occupancy, and they were talking about having an opening, and I hadn't heard.
Mr. Dewar?
I'll save Mr. Allen's voice. They do not presently have occupancy, but we anticipate it coming up in the near future, and we'll certainly be working together to make sure that the community can celebrate that.
Thanks. Any other questions or comments? Councilor Ray?
I just a comment that I think, when we see something like this, I think it's good for us to acknowledge, they've taken a large role in moving forward on that housing, but they've also taken roles in moving forward with the encampment as well. So I think it can be a mutual admiration there. I think the Friendship Center has been a very good part of the community for as long as I can remember. So thank you.
Thanks, Councilor Ray. Ms. Goodrick? I'm speaking for Councilor Raven, unless you want to speak for yourself. Just motion that the mayor respond to the letter received from the Zelkant Friendship Center, item 18-1. And Mr. Dewar, go ahead.
And I can share this afterwards if council so chooses to move it, but that council authorized the mayor to provide response to the Zelkant Friendship Society pertaining to their November 4th correspondence.
And Mr. Dewar will just give that to you afterwards. Okay, perfect. Okay, with that better wording, all in favor? Any opposed? And that's carried. Thank you. Any other 18s? In that case, I think we're at the last motion. If someone would like to move adjournment. Councilor Ray, Councilor Bucama, all in favor? Any opposed? And we are adjourned. Thanks, folks. Short night. It is 7:29.